What's up, boys and girls? Welcome to a brand new and first lesson video on my channel. I am very excited about this. I had been thinking for a while of doing some sort of instructional content in some form. After thinking about it, I just figured that YouTube is a platform that I really enjoy myself in the first place, and also the growing group of people here that follow me just pushed me so much in wanting to create more content for my YouTube channel. So this is also thanks to you if I'm here today starting this brand new series of videos. I'm planning on doing a series of lesson videos here on YouTube. I don't really know what the schedule is going to be like, but I promise I'm going to try my best to keep them up and keep them kind of regular if I can. I'm also open to your suggestions. So if you feel like there's something you might be interested in, if there's something that you might find useful or just interesting, or just something about my playing that you like, whatever you feel like could be a nice topic for a video like this, just write it down below and I will give it a thought. So thank you if you do that. So today we're starting off with alternate picking. I think this is probably for me the most important technique. I feel like it's the core, the mother of all techniques, if you will. I feel like picking in general, in electric guitar is just the very base and foundation of most of the stuff that you're gonna play. So it doesn't really matter what kind of player you are. I feel like getting better at alternate picking is a huge benefit, something that you definitely to look into and get better, improve at it, and there's no limit, for improving on alternate picking, basically on a lot of techniques, but most importantly on alternate picking. I feel like there's always, a way to push yourself. So we're gonna take a look at some tips that you can incorporate in your practice in order to improve and make progress more efficiently in alternate picking. In general, I feel like people tend to skip the very basic and simple stuff, which is also the core of a certain technique, or the core of improvement, really, because they feel like progresses come from taking incredibly difficult stuff and trying your best to overcome that. But actually, my way of approaching any sort of technique really on guitar, any sort of difficult lick, difficult section that you're looking to learn or whatever, I believe that there's much more value in taking simple stuff, the basic stuff that people tend to skip, and master that first. Just really focus on simple stuff, paying attention to everything that's going on. Because a lot of times I feel like people, and also with social medias, there's the tendency of wanting to reach the end goal, the end result, so fast that you kind of miss everything that's in between, and you may seem like you are reaching some sort of result, and you may get near to it, but it's another thing to really being able to play something properly, in a very clean and precise way, actually being aware of what you're doing. So you're not just learning one lick, you're not learning just a section, you're not learning like a speed run or stuff like that. You're actually learning the technique itself. So I am a firm believer that in order to really understand and comprehend how a certain technique works, alternate picking in this case, you need to break things down to the bare bones, to the bare minimum. And what that means is that you should really just pick the most simple stuff and doing it very carefully, paying attention to everything that's going on, to everything that's important and correct. Only that way you will be able to face more difficult stuff, more challenging stuff with more awareness of what's going on, more awareness of how to tackle some, difficult section or whatever you're gonna be practicing on, really. If you truly understand how something works, then you have the knowledge, to just put yourself in a position of advantage, you know, because you're already aware, you already know how certain stuff need to be played in order to achieve a certain result. So it's just a matter of putting pieces together to form like a bigger picture, you know, at that point. So now let's get into some actual tips. Let's start off with taking a look at our picking hand. So right hand, left hand if you're lefty. I'm gonna take my right hand as an example. So these may seem obvious to some of you, but trust me, it's not. And it's very easy for people if they don't really have an idea of what's going on, of what's, you know, the correct thing to do. It's very easy to just fall into, you know, a loop of bad habits and just, you know, keep adding up to those and just developing, you know, wrong habits one over the other. And with a technique like alternate picking, which is going to be very fast from time to time, it's very easy to get your hands tired, you know, to get all your arms fatigued, and it's just not that great, you know. It's just better if you develop you know, nice and relaxed way of playing. Everyone kind of, you know, can have their own way of getting around things, but I feel like there is a correct way and you should try your best to stick to the correct movement. So the correct way to approach the picking hand movement is to just use the wrist, okay? So everything comes from the wrist. There's no forearm involved in the movement. Your forearm and your whole arm will just help you out, you know, following through the strings. If you're playing on one another, you know, you follow through with your forearm, but the movement comes just from the wrist. And so the simplest way to approach the movement of your wrist is to imagine that you have a pair of keys instead of your pick. So you're holding a pair of keys and you're just turning them, okay? Just you're entering your house, okay? And that's the movement you're doing. That's the exact same movement, but, you know, relaxed. They're gonna translate to your guitar, okay? So this is the movement. This is kind of the same movement that you do when you're strumming chords on an acoustic, okay? Of course, it's got to be much more controlled, okay? So the movement itself becomes very little, you know, compared to some sort of strumming, but the movement, you know, the motion of your wrist, it's always the same. It's just that one, okay? Very simple. So I'm gonna let you take a closer look to my right hand and what happens when I pick. You notice that my forearm is completely still. There's no motion in my forearm. It's just my wrist, you know, even if I pick faster, okay? Doesn't matter, my forearm is not moving. It's just my wrist, okay? So this one is the movement that you want to achieve. Okay, so another important tip, this time for your pick. And here, you know, there's a lot of, you know, opinions, or it's just very, there's a lot of freedom, you know. There's people that just, you know, hold their pick with their feet, with their pinky finger. It doesn't really matter as long as you know, can play, you know, fine with it. But the correct way to hold it, and the most, you know, more than correct, the most efficient way to pick, if you think about it, you know, logically, is to keep your pick not flat against the strings, okay, but slightly rotated towards your left, okay? So let's take a closer look. So if I'm picking flat, okay, my pick is gonna encounter much more resistance than if I rotate it slightly, let's say like a 45-degree angle, okay? So just like this, okay? If I rotate it to my left slightly, okay, my pick is gonna encounter much less resistance from the strings, okay? It's gonna glide through the strings much more. This is also a good tip for sweep picking, but also, you know, when alternating, it is good because you don't want to, you know, you want to encounter the less resistance as possible, okay? Because everything that gets in the way of, you know, like a relaxed playing and an effortless playing, we just want to get rid of that, okay? So very important, keep your pick at an angle, keep all these things in mind when you go into your practice. Now, last thing regarding picking hand positioning, remember to rest your hand, especially your side palm here, onto the strings. You don't want your hand floating around. You want to rest the palm on the strings. This is especially useful when it comes to muting. We're going to take a look at that more in depth in another video dedicated to that. But for now, just remember to place your hand onto the strings. Okay, so it's incredibly beneficial if you're going to mute both the lower strings or the upper strings, you know, with the very side of your pinky here. So keep that in mind, correct position. You want to avoid your hand just going around randomly. So with these things in mind, just a reminder that you should be trying to play as relaxed as possible. You should get all the tension out of the way. I know it's not easy. I know it's very, very easy to get all tensed up, especially when playing faster and faster, you know. For your right hand especially, it's going to get tired very quickly, very easily. Also the left hand. It's just, I know it's hard, but try your best to keep everything relaxed. And if you feel like you're getting all tensed up, just, you know, stop for a second, breathe, and then start again, because all the tension is just going to get in your way, and it's going to get in the way of playing faster and playing difficult stuff, because that's not helping at all. So again, if you're feeling that way, just stop for a second, you know, and start again with a much more relaxed approach to it. Now let's jump into one exercise that we're gonna see today together. And this is gonna be a very, very simple one. As I told you before, it doesn't really matter the complexity of the exercise. In my opinion, it is far more important to truly understand the very, very basic of a technique, to truly comprehend how to get better at it. So this specific exercise made me open my eyes years and years ago when I was objectively very bad at guitar. And once I acknowledged that, it was actually thanks to discovering that, you know, while I was struggling to learn new stuff, I thought with myself, like, wait a minute, but am I really able to play like the most simple stuff? Or is there a problem in that? You know, is there a problem from the very beginning? Because if that's the case, you know, I might just have to go back to the roots of the problem, you know, like get really into that, master that first, and then, you know, slowly move my way up to, you know, more difficult stuff. And that's exactly what I did. And it helped me out so much, so much. I improved so much when I started actually, you know, going back from the very, very basic and simple stuff. And then, you know, I worked my way up to stuff that was more challenging, and I had a much easier time with it because I was prepared, you know, I had a good foundation. And so that's exactly what we're going to take a look into today. So the exercise we're taking a look at today is very, very minimal. It's actually just taking two fingers, so two notes at a time, and alternate between them. Again, this may seem really simple, but trust me, when you only have two fingers and you have to alternate between them very, very fast, and you need to be coordinated, you know, with both your hands, this is very hard. This is very hard, especially when it comes to, you know, your pinky and, you know, finger 3 and 4. It's just very, very hard. So let's take a look at the exercise itself. So you can pick whatever note you want. It doesn't really matter. It's actually beneficial if you want to pick, you know, different positions for this. Again, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to pick fret 5, 6, 7, and 8 on the G string. So these ones. So I'm gonna name the fingers. So let's start off with finger 1 and 2. Just taking those two and alternating between them. Very, very simple. Let's start incredibly slowly and then work our way up. So very simple for now. Let's now try and get this up to speed. as you will notice, it's going to get harder. It is incredibly hard to maintain a nice coordination and timing between both hands with, again, just 2 fingers moving very, very fast. It's actually much easier if you have more than 2 fingers, because they can actually take the time, you know, to alternate between one another. But when you only have 2, they need to move very, very fast, you know, and this is an incredible training for your fingers and again for your whole coordination. So let's just keep going. Let's now pick finger 2 and 3. As you will see, as you go down with the fingers, it's going to get harder. So let's now try with finger 3 and 4. As you can see, when the pinky comes in, everything just gets more and more problematic, which is okay because we want to, again, challenge ourselves. It's normal, it's completely normal that the pinky finger, you know, requires much more effort. It's not even matched, you know, to the speed that I can reach with the other fingers. But again, this is why this is a very good training. It may seem like something very simple. Trust me, it's not. And again, you can push this with no limit basically. And I guarantee you that if you reach a good level with something like this, which is, you know, basically the like most simple stuff that you can find, because if you pick whatever, you know, long alternate picking pattern, it is going to be just like multiplying these little patterns for more and more times, you know, because if I pick a line that's something like this, if we break this down, at the end of the day, this is just like smaller pieces, just like we played before, all glued together, you know? So this is what we have. So if you reach a point where you are comfortable and confident in playing incredibly well the simple stuff, then at that point it's just a matter of, again, piecing things together and getting comfortable with the bigger picture, you know, with tackling like longer stuff and visualizing bigger shapes. But again, the root of it all is that this is the basic stuff. Okay, this is the basic. You were gonna, everything that you play that has alternate picking in it, you are gonna find, you know, all these little patterns just repeating themselves over and over in different forms, different shapes, but it doesn't really matter, because if you are confident in playing those, then again, it's just a matter of putting things together. So now let's take a look at some variables. You can also switch the fingers. So you can, instead of doing like 1, 2, 2, 3, you can do 1, 3, you can do 1, 4, you can do 2, 4. So the combinations are really not endless, but there's a lot of them. You can just be creative, you know, with taking different fingers combinations, and, you know, just practice everything. It's, at the end of the day, that's what you want to do. That's the point you want to reach, where you're comfortable with most of the stuff that you face. So let's try to do the same up to speed with different finger combinations. So now I'm taking fingers 1 and 3. Now fingers 1 and 4. Now fingers 2 and 4. And again, we can do whatever we want. So we can also try to make a little section out of all these exercises and just putting them together just like this. So again, you can just be creative with this. You can try and place this wherever you want in the fretboard. The important thing is that with this being a very simple, straightforward, straight to the point exercise, you know, there's nothing too weird going on. There's no like string skipping or whatever. It's very simple, very basic. It actually gives you the possibility to not only focus on the exercise itself, but it gives you the possibility to focus on your accuracy, the precision, and also everything that I told you before about your right hand, the picking hand. So while you play, with this not being like the most difficult exercise, again, your focus should not only be the exercise itself, so not only your coordination and all, not only your speed or whatever, but also you should really focus on being precise, doing the correct movement, being relaxed, your whole body, especially your arms, your hands, whatever. Okay, so there's a lot to think about while practicing this. And again, it may seem very simple, but once you write down the points and everything that you need to be aware of while practicing, I feel like this is probably the best and most efficient workout if you're trying to really improve and get some progress as far as your alternate picking. So that's it for today's video. I really hope that you will find this useful in some way. My aim with these videos will be not to give you a selection of incredibly difficult stuff to play, because there's plenty of that online, and I don't really believe in that approach when it comes to improving yourself on the instrument and really understanding what you're doing, what's going on, and what you need in order to, you know, get to a certain point. What I really do believe I can do is to try my best to give you and pass to you all the tools and information that I experienced myself in my years and years of improvement and, you know, just search for getting better at guitar. I am now at a place where I am pretty happy with my chops. If we're just speaking about technique, I'm now focusing on developing, you know, all the musical side of things. But I know how stressful it can be when you're trying to achieve a result and it just seems like you can't. And trust me, it's probably most likely just because you're doing something wrong or simply not in the most efficient way. So again, my only aim with this series of videos will be to try and give you the tools necessary for you in order to pursue your own personal journey to improving yourself on electric guitar. Now, thank you so much for watching. Let me know below if you enjoy this kind of video. This is completely free here on YouTube. Again, I'm not doing it for the money or whatever. I'm just doing it because I wanted to do something like this for a while. I love the platform. So the only thing I ask back, if you enjoyed this, is to subscribe, share the video, share my music, my stuff, share what I do with other people. That is the best form of support right now. That's just the best thing you can do for me. And I see you all, and I appreciate all the support so much. So thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.